Hey friends, haven't made a video in a while because I've been busy with my book. Technically, it's funny to think about because I do have enough time to make a video every day, but there's something about having the book on my mind that makes me not really feel like making a video. Like once I start, it's pretty easy to finish, but it's getting started is a challenge because I don't know, holding up my phone, thinking about what I want to say, it's a challenge. And the challenge is always emotional, right? It's always an aversion. It's so interesting how you can have an aversion to a thing that you know you want to do, right? So there's internal conflict going on somewhere, and if you resolve that internal conflict, then you no longer need to motivate yourself and challenge yourself and push yourself to do the thing. You just do the thing because you want to do it. So and that's partially what my book's about. So I might want to think about that. But anyway, a friend DM'd me on Twitter to tell me about like the challenges that they are going through with their family, and I thought that gave me like a surge of emotional energy that I figured I might as well use to make a video. And their challenge was that their parents, uh, kind of have expectations of them to do well in school, in university, and they kind of like their mom is like asking about grades and asking about and there's something about the way in which mom is talking to them that makes them feel like they are being reduced to that number, right? And I think this is I've done a lot of reading about this stuff. I feel like I've dealt with my version of this, but I've heard from other people who have it so much worse. It seems especially common amongst people from backgrounds like so I've like South Asian, Indian, East Asian as well, Korean, Chinese, um, Japanese, Africans. I found South Africans, East Africans. Some I've heard from some Latino friends as well. So it's fairly global, universal. My sense is that it's downstream of like cultural trauma, like this sense of you have to perform, you have to do well, you have to like it's I mean, so the general instinct for performance and the general I do believe that humans do want to achieve things, right? Like we're here on this planet for a little while, and it's nice to do cool things, it's nice to accomplish things, but there is a neediness that some people have where they're not just saying I want to do things, they're saying if I don't accomplish things, I will be worthless, right? I will be a bad person, I will be shitty, I will be a burden, I will be blah blah blah. And that's dangerous stuff, because once you have that mindset, once you have that frame, it's totalizing. So a parent might reduce their child to their grades, and that's dehumanizing. But from the parent's point of view, so let me talk about like the Singaporean context, because I'm Singaporean, and this is a recurring thing in Singapore. And I do believe, as far as we can tell, it basically started after the war and after World War II and after the Japanese occupation, and then the economic policies and stuff that happened after that. There is a pressure cooker environment in Singapore's culture. I think even our former PM Lee Kuan Yew, he had a quote that was something like, "We are each just economic digits, right? And our digits are in competition with digits elsewhere." There is a truth to that. There is a truth that a country's economic performance affects its well-being, right? Like if your economy is down the drain, there are countries around the world that have that problem, and it's a different problem. So I want to try and be empathetic and understand that different people have different challenges. And where am I going with this? It's just so recently I posted a tweet about how the Singaporean media, when it reports on Singaporean artists, can't seem to talk about them without putting like how much money they make in the headline, even when the artist is explicitly saying money is not that important, or even if they're implying I left Singapore because I couldn't stand how materialistic the culture was. And even so, the headline is, oh, this artist makes a 6-figure book deal, or they made $40,000 in a month, whatever. And that's sad. I think that's sad. I think that's a diminishment of life, right? And I think that there's a reason why that's the case. I get annoyed when people dismiss Singaporeans as being shallow and materialistic. I mean, so there is a truth to that claim, but they don't seem to investigate why. They don't seem to ask. Or people might say Singapore's so sterile, so boring, it's so clean, it's so repressive. Okay, why? Why is it that way? Why are your parents obsessed about your grades? Like, people don't think that far ahead. They're just like, oh, this is bad and therefore deserving of mockery or whatever. And nobody wakes up wanting to become. Nobody's born wanting to be a killjoy, right? No, I bet none of the journalists who wrote those headlines when they were kids, they dreamed about that specifically, right? But along the way, we are conditioned to believe that, if you don't have money, you can't make it in the world. And if you don't have money, you will be less than. And some people want to blame capitalism as, again, that is also, it's like this vague nebulous fog that you just have give a name to and point at as the villain in the story. But the question is, what can you do, and what do you want, and how do you want to live, right? And I think that the conversation that I had with my friend about their parents is that, I try to remind. First of all, I empathize. Like, it sucks if the people that you love can't seem to see you as a full human being, right? They see you as a bunch of grades. It's dehumanizing, and it's sad, right? And then the question is, how can I get my partner or my, and the parent-child relationship is the most difficult to manage in this case, because if it's a romantic partner, you can break up. If it's your boss, you can quit. But with your parents, so some people, when they have it really, really bad and their parents are truly, dysfunctional, narcissists, just malignant, there are people who estrange themselves from their parents and effectively break up with their parents. But like that, most people don't have that bad a relationship with their parents. And so when people say that that's the situation, well, actually, when I said most people don't have that bad relationship, we can't be sure, But anyway, when people make that decision, it's a very costly decision, because socially costly, right? Because people tend to assume, like, at least where I'm from, people tend to assume that if a child estranges themselves from their parents, it's like the child's ungrateful, unfilial, selfish, and it's very seldom wondered, unless the parent turns out to be horrifically abusive, right? Like, occasionally there's a news story where the parent does something truly hideous, and that was one reason. I don't even want to talk about it. It's just so horrible what the parent did. And then people are like, WTF, like shocking, horrible. And then they don't really have any good advice. They're just kind of like, wow, I can't imagine this. Yeah, it happens, dude, Anyway, where am I going with this? I don't really think it's already 8 minutes, and I don't think I can go much further in detail right now. But the sense is, first of all, know that this is a thing that happens, right? It's pretty common that people, and it's sad how common it is that people feel dehumanized by their own family. And, I would say to people in that situation, protect yourself first, right? Like, if you're thinking about it and you're internally conflicted about it, then you are already not one of those, like, some people are super selfish, and they, like, maybe their parents are just asking out of concern or something, and they are being unreasonable and unfair. But those people aren't watching videos on YouTube to try and process their feelings, right? Those people are they're out the door, they're insulting their parents. And if you're conflicted about it, I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign to be conflicted, because it means that you care. And you're not alone. There are other people going through the same thing. I cannot promise that things will definitely get better, right? But I do find that, when you're like in your early 20s and stuff, parents tend to put more pressure, I think, generally, when I talk to my friends and stuff. And in your 30s and 40s, as your parents get older and they're approaching death, right, and they see that you're becoming an adult, and they can't really control you that much anymore, and they've seen how that your life is the way it is. A lot of parents, I think, in like the median parents, they do tend to soften and kind of let go of a lot of nonsense. But again, it's a bell curve, and your parents might be all the way at the extreme end, and if that's the case, I'm sorry. But yeah, you're not alone. Things can get somewhat better. But it's not your responsibility to fix your parents and teach your parents how to be better parents, right? Um, yeah, which is a strange kind of, it can be jarring and unsettling to realize this, that some people are shocked to realize that they have been trying as children to teach their parents to be better parents. I have a friend whose mom is like a just a traumatized narcissist who, she goes to therapy, I think, and the therapy doesn't even help because she's just that kind of broken, right? Like psychologically, she's so tormented and sees herself as the victim of everything that she can't even receive help. It's sad. I don't know if anyone can help her. Uh, Ultimately, people have to help themselves. I think at that final, I don't know. It's there are no answers, right? There's no objectivity in the world that tells you these things. Like, you just, the best you can do is the best you can do, and you give it a good shot. You talk to more people, you get a sense of how other people are dealing with their problems, and life goes on. It is what it is. I don't know if that's helpful. um I'm trying to be helpful, but I guess it really varies depending on each situation. And I guess what I wish someone had told me when I was a kid was that, and I guess people would have told me, but I might not have appreciated it. So maybe it's something you only appreciate as you get older. But it's like, your parents were kids once, right? And they went through their own struggles and traumas, and they don't necessarily have the language for talking about it, or they're too scared sometimes to talk about it, which isn't to excuse any bad shit that they do. But if you understand that where it's coming from, it's like, if they could be better, they would probably, I don't know, maybe. Even being a bad person, being like villainous, like the way I see it is like, why? It's such a selfish, small-minded, needy way of being, and it cuts you off from love, right? So why would someone, on in their fleeting moments on earth, why would someone deliberately choose to cut themselves off from love? It's because they're scared, right? Basically, fundamentally. And it's not your job to save everyone and to fix everyone. The best, just, it's a full-time job taking care of yourself. So take care of yourself. Give love to the people who are able to receive it. Try and build, what you can, and live another day. Done.